to one and all present here. On behalf of Shantiniketan International School, we feel privileged that we got such a great opportunity to conduct this grand event on national level. I welcome to all on this 1 week national level teacher development program. By my heartful welcome to Dr. Satyendra Gupta, the chairperson of CTEF Delhi NCR chapter. My heartful welcome to Dr. Sanjay Kumar, the Secretary General of CTEF Delhi NCR chapter. A very great proverb is said by Alan Williams that in learning you will teach and in teaching you will learn. So every teacher needs to improve, not because they are not good enough, but because they can be even better. Moving with this great proverb, now may I request Principal of Shantiniketan International School, Amravati, to address the event.
A warm and pleasant good morning to one and all. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all in this grand event. It is a matter of great pride for Shantiniketan International School, Amravati, Maharashtra, to organize this 1 week national level teacher training program in association with Council for Teacher Education Foundation Delhi NCR chapter, which gives a platform to numerous brains combined with futuristic visions. I am also delighted to state that we are getting a huge response from all over the India for this national level teacher development program. So, I am proud to say that we are having more than 1,000 registrations for this 1 week national level teacher development program. First of all, my heartfelt greetings to the Honorable Founder President of Maratha Shikshan Sanstha, Sri Dada Saheb Koyar sir, a continuous source of inspiration. I also salute to the tireless efforts of the Secretary of Maratha Shikshan Sanstha, who is having an energetic and dynamic personality to enrich the teachers' level to become a perfect role model for the students. Shantiniketan International School, Amravati is situated in the heart of Amravati, Maharashtra. Our school has opened its door from the year 2016-2017 in a pollution-free environment. The roots of our school are strongly embedded into the motto of our Shantiniketan International School, inspiring success in every child. I am proud to say that our school is the first school in Vidarbha region using 3D classrooms. For the reform in education, the teacher training program plays an important role. Teachers also have to keep themselves updated with the changing environment. The teacher training program is helpful for teachers to improving their efficiency, ability, knowledge, and motivation for their work. Actually, teaching and learning are always like two parallel lines that are bound to go together. Hence, teachers must get training at regular intervals of time to update their knowledge. I welcome here on behalf of Shantiniketan International School, Amravati, Maharashtra, all the participants who are eagerly waiting for this most special event. Especially thanks and welcome to the Chairperson and the Secretary General of Teacher Education Foundation Delhi NCR chapter, Dr. Satyendra Gupta sir and Dr. Sanjay Kumar Chaudhary sir, as well as I welcome all the honorable resource person, especially today's resource person, Dr. Parpita Bishwas ma'am, as they make themselves available for this grand event national level online teacher training program. Let now me close by wishing you all a delightful and stimulating week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Now, may I request Dr. Satyendra Gupta, sir, the chairperson of CTEF Delhi NCR chapter, to please address the event.
Namaskar. Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Shantiniketan International School, Amravati, Maharashtra, for organizing this 1 week national level teacher development program. So definitely it is a matter of proud to us if we are from the Delhi NCR region supporting the Shantiniketan School in the Amravati, Bihar. So Amravati, Maharashtra. And as I came to know with the participants, those who registered, they are throughout the country. So definitely it is a very good initiative by a school. And as we all know that we are working in the area of the teacher education. So I am happy to learn that now we are having a strong relationship between the teacher education institutions and the school. And in this webinar, we are having the resource persons also from the all corners of the country. And basically, they are from the teacher education. So next time, I would wish to see a webinar in which the school teachers should share their expertise and share their experiences with us, with our B.Ed. M.Ed. students, our DLED students, and our teacher educators. So that's why that will establish a good relationship between the schools and the teacher education institutions. Because we also want to learn from the school what new is going on, what is the demand of the parents, what is the demand of the school, and how the B.Ed, M.Ed colleges, DLED colleges should prepare the teachers. So once again, I would extend my thanks to Principal of the Shantiniketan International School, Ms. Smita Thakreji, and the Chairman of the school, Mr. B.R. Goyar sir, for organizing this wonderful event. And I hope all participants will enjoy it and will have some new learning. And this learning will go to the classrooms. What you will learn in during these 7 days, I wish that learning should go to the last student of the class. And teachers should enhance their skills. They should modify their behavior as per their learning, which our respected resource persons will share in today's event. So once again, thank you from the side of CTEF and Mr. Sanjay Kumarji, who coordinated very well, and he is doing his all efforts for the success of the CTF Delhi NCR chapter. And it is once again, I wish the school and express my gratitude to the school for conducting this wonderful webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, and all the best for the participants. And have a good learning.
Thank you very much, sir, for your such a great motivational words, which really inspires us in our education life. Moving to our today's first day session, it's my privilege to introduce our today's energetic trainer. She has completed her education in MA, History and Education, MEd, MPhil and PhD. She is the teacher, educator and a distinguished author in the field of teacher education. She has been awarded with the prestigious Best Professor Award by International Education Awards and Kites in the year 2020. She is also Research Center Coordinator of Center for Education Research and Development. At present, she is a professor and head of the department at School of Education, Admis University. Yes, she is none other than the energetic person, Dr. Pratitha Biswas ma'am. I request Pratitha Biswas madam to please continue our today's training session.
Namaskar and a very good morning to all of you. I hope that I am audible, and thanks to the organizers especially to Gupta ji, Professor Gupta and Professor Kumar for actually involving me in this program. At the same time, I would like to thank the chairperson or the chairman of the school as well as principal ma'am of Shantiniketan International School. So it has been a great moment of coordination. As Professor Gupta has already stated, so I would go by that line that there should be a very much close coordination between the school as well as the teacher education institutions, because through the school only the teacher trainees will be going and they will be making their mark in the long run. So if there is a close contact with the school, with the teacher education institution, then only it would be a grand success. I mean, a professional success, because the teacher educators are coming to give their training to the teacher trainees, and at the same time, the trainees are getting their innovation, evolvement through activity-based learning and practical-oriented situation. And what best that can be other than the school? It is always better to give deliberations and give a mark of respect to the progressive development of the 21st century. But it is also imperative and as well as very much important for every one of us to know, especially the teacher educators, the teacher trainers, as well as the teacher trainees, to know a practical oriented approach, a practical oriented innovative approach, as well as a proper approach in the teaching learning of the 21st century. So with that, I would like to present my slide. If the slide is presented to me, I would request the organizers.
Please continue.
Am I audible?
Yeah, right now you are audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. So, can we go to the next slide? The third slide. Okay, so speaking about the different disciplines. Okay, so there is a technology, there is a fine arts and the creative arts, as well as the music. So when we are interrelating between the different disciplines, that is the technology, as well as the fine arts, as well as the creative arts. So here I have stated in the slide music, but now we find that there are different types of creative arts, that is fine arts, yoga, and as well as yoga education, as well as we find that music is something which is very much important, both for the creative aspect and as well as for the creativity sector. And we find that in this sector where technology and technological innovation is very much important, both for science, objective, reasoning, as well as invention, as well as imagination. In the fine arts sector also, the East meets the West. And here we have a very different responsibility as a teacher educator, because the teacher educator teaches the trainee teacher, and now the trainee teacher when goes to the school in a professional setup as an assistant teacher or as a teacher, he or she has the greater responsibility to teach the students, because these children who are going for the future. They are the future generations, and in the 21st century, who better than them who will be learning about innovation, about the different strategies, and about the different techniques of education. So next slide, please. Now, I will just focus on the traditional teaching method. Now, we know all very well that before the COVID, when there was a time which was quite natural, which was quite normal,
we used to actually depend on the chalk and the talk method. So the chalk and the talk method, we all know very well that teacher was actually the sender, and at the same time the student was the receiver. So the sender and the receiver, they both used to mutually collaborate with each other. But in the context of teaching, we find that it was the teacher who was actually giving the messages of the signals in a more wider aspect, and the students was receiving it in a proper way. And that is when the students feel that they will be learning, the sincere students who are taking all the learnings as well as the developments in a particular way. So the educational material during that time was the source of the reference of the information, which was very important for every student to know, and the teacher was the main one who was responsible so that he or she can send the context in the long run. Now, coming to the next slide, just see the picture. Now, when there was only a lecture method, that is the chalk and the talk method, maybe the teacher used to give the information to the students. But it was only a one-way flow of information, because during that time, it was only the teacher who was sending the information. The students may be receiving it, but not in a proper interactive manner. So it was only based on the lecture notes and the textbooks, and everything was more on a rote learning process. So the plug and play method rather than the practical aspects. When I was opening the session, I spoke about the plug and play method, the innovative and the practical aspect, rather than speaking about the traditional teaching and training methods. Now, there was also during the traditional times, there was a very insufficient interaction with the students in the classroom also, because there were a lot of students in the classroom who were finding it quite difficult to interact, and the system was such that during that time it was quite difficult for the teachers to interact with each and every student. But to tell you very frankly, during the innovative methods which has been followed, I would request everyone to be on mute, please, because it disturbs the person who is speaking. So the practical aspect was very much absent during the traditional teaching method, and we find that there is insufficient interaction also, because there was no such to tell you frankly, there was no such training, or there was no such type of a teaching where everyone used to interact and the students were given the chance to interact. So they were more dependent on the theory. In fact, during the time of 1995, 97, 2001, I would like to state, no offense meant to anyone, that during the teacher training program, that is why the National Council for Teacher Education felt the need to develop the program, the B.Ed, M.Ed, and the other teacher education program in a very advanced, practical, and proper light, because during that time, only the theory and the school teaching practice was there. But now this practice has become very much innovative, and we find that it is something which is a very proper thing in the long run, because of course it is quite imperative to understand and know that without the practical aspect, without any sort of practical aspect, it is quite difficult, and as well as not quite important also during that time, that the traditional teaching learning methods were the only sources of learning and teaching during that time, and especially in the teacher education domain. Now we find that it is quite important and imperative also to know that there is an innovative tools process, that is the multimedia learning process. Through the multimedia learning process, we know, especially in the schools who are especially having their innovative centers, innovative ideas, the leadership development team of the school, they are preparing the children in such a way, and the students in the trainee teachers or in some of the international departments and in the colleges as well as in the teacher training education centers, it has been done in a very proper way, so that they learn and they also give that amount of learning to the trainee teachers as well. So multimedia, traditional problem-based learning, which was before, but it was done in a very methodical and proper way. The teacher also uses multimedia. Now the teacher or the master teacher, they have become so much important in the long run that they have all the knowledges to use the multimedia content also, so that they can modify the content of the material. So in the long run, it will help the teacher to represent in a very proper way, in a meaningful way, and using the different multimedia elements. Now we are not only dependent on PowerPoint, we are also dependent on Canva. We are also dependent on Canvas. We are also dependent on very much important aspects of the multimedia presentation, like video presentation, YouTube presentations. At the same time, we are also having musical representations and presentations in a very difficult and different line. Maybe something which is very much important as well as imperative in the long run. At the same time, we are also finding a lot of things which are dependent on the concept mapping or the mind mapping. Now, this type of a mapping is something which is a visual and a graphic effort, and it shows how the students think a topic or project. So the students are given group work, and they believe that the relationship is there between two or more concepts or ideas, and it tries to connect the new ideas with the existing ideas. That is, there is a dot, we give a dot in a blank paper. Now it is the student or the teacher trainees development which is being given by their master trainers or by the teacher educators to fill in that gap. So that is actually the concept mapping and the mind mapping. But to tell you very frankly, the teacher or the teacher educator should be the guide. They should not take the student taken for granted. They should always have this, he or she is a guide by their side. He or she is a motivator or a supervisor by their side. It should not be so that you are teacher trainees, you are a graduate or a postgraduate. That is why you are being taken for granted that you know the concept mapping or the mind mapping. This should not be so. So there are a lot of benefits for this concept as well as mind mapping. It would definitely promote the pedagogical knowledge and the thinking of ideas. At the same time, as I have already stated to you, it should also involve innovative thinking ideas. The concepts and the assimilation, this should be done in a proper way so that they will be able to do it in a very proper and in a very proper manner. Now, when we are teaching between, maybe when we are actually teaching the teacher trainees in a perfect school manner, we want to make them a perfect teacher. So there should be also, in that period, there should be also a teaching with a sense of humor. चीज जो होना चाहिए वो है कि आप अगर ह्यूमर लाइफ में नहीं लाते हैं, अगर आप ह्यूमर लाइफ में नहीं लाते हैं तो इट बिकम समथिंग जो एक स्टूडेंट को बहुत बोर कर देते हैं. सो एवरीवन लव्स अ टीचर विद अ सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर. कुछ टीचर लोग ऐसे हैं जो ओनली आते हैं लेक्चर्स या प्रेजेंटेशंस, इनोवेटिव भी हो सकते हैं, वो करके वो बोल के वो चले जाते हैं, ठीक है ना. लेकिन कुछ टीचर ऐसे हैं कि जो हमको बहुत इनोवेशन, लर्निंग, टीचिंग सब कुछ एक साथ दे जाते हैं, उसके साथ ह्यूमर भी दे जाते हैं. सो देयर शुड बी अ कॉर्डियलिटी, कुछ कॉर्डियल रिलेशन, अच्छा रिलेशन हो जाना चाहिए between the professors and the students. So कुछ डिफिकल्ट लेक्चर जब होना चाहिए तो टीचर एडुकेशन शुड प्रिपेयर इन अ प्रॉपर वे, इन अ वेरी गुड वे, सो दैट कुछ ह्यूमर तो होना ही चाहिए, क्योंकि वो डिफिकल्ट लेक्चर स्टूडेंट कैसे लेंगे. हम अगर कुछ सिनेमेटोग्राफिक एग्जांपल्स देते हैं, कुछ प्लेस का एग्जांपल देते हैं जो बहुत पॉपुलर है, तो वो डिफिकल्ट लेक्चर हम लोगों को बहुत चुटकी में स्टूडेंट को याद आ जाता है कि हाँ वो एग्जाम्पल दिए थे. अगर हम कुछ इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम पढ़ा रहे हैं, विच इज बहुत गंभीर सब्जेक्ट है, बहुत सी चीजें हैं हमको समझना है. द टीचर एडुकेटर शुड do a sense of very different types of knowledge during there. कुछ क्या करना पड़ेगा, एक हम तारे जमीन पे का एक एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं, ब्लैक का एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं. तो हम लोग जिसको पढ़ा रहे हैं, ऑफ कोर्स वो जो डिफिकल्ट लेक्चर ऑन इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, हाँ बहुत सी चीजें हैं जो हम फर्स्ट नॉलेज गेन कर रहे हैं एज अ टीचर ट्रेनिंग. तो हम अगर वो हम रिलेट कर सके, इट इज कॉल्ड रिलेटेड टाइप ऑफ अ टीचिंग. अगर वो रिलेट कर सके, ह्यूमर कुछ उसमें डाल सके, रिलेट विथ ह्यूमर एंड ह्यूमरस नॉलेज, तब स्टूडेंट्स बहुत अच्छी तरह से ये जानते हैं और रिलेट भी कर सकते हैं. एट द सेम टाइम जो हम पढ़ा रहे हैं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल टीचर एडुकेशन, इंक्लूसिव एडुकेशन, फिलोसॉफिकल बेसिस ऑफ एडुकेशन, ये कोर्स हम लोगों को इंटरेस्टिंग हो जाना होगा. बिकॉज अगर हम कोर्स इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं करेंगे तो स्टूडेंट्स लोग भी कैसे जान पाएंगे. एंड ऑफ कोर्स इट शुड बी रिलेवेंट टू द सब्जेक्ट, इट शुड बी अ समथिंग व्हिच इज conducive to the environment for learning this communication. So this is something which is very important. Now coming back to the innovative tools, I was previously speaking about the innovative tools. Now we should come to some of the context like Z to A approach. Now Z to A approach क्या है? Z to A is first हमको application part उनको समझा देना है. Like for example morning assembly. Morning assembly is a very important and the most prime part in the when you are teaching in a school. So it is always better. For example, अगर हम morning assembly theory में पढ़ाते हैं, तो पहले हमको वो स्टूडेंट्स को मॉर्निंग असेंबली प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट में समझाना पड़ेगा. अगर हम वो प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट में वो नहीं समझाएंगे तो वो थ्योरी देख के वो बोर हो जाएंगे. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली अ Z to A अप्रोच. एंड ये एप्लीकेशन हमको वर्चुअल इंडस्ट्री टीचिंग ट्रेनिंग ये पहले हमको करना पड़ेगा. फिर उसके बाद में अगर हम थ्योरी देते हैं तो देन ओनली द स्टूडेंट्स विल बी एबल टू गेट इंटरेस्ट इन दिस टीचिंग ट्रेनिंग सेक्टर. एट द सेम टाइम हमको ये भी देखना है कि ये जो सब्जेक्ट फॉर एग्जांपल मैनेजमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन, इफेक्टिव क्लासरूम टीचिंग जो मेरा टाइटल है आज का, it is actually very much interrelated with classroom management or management of teaching. So motivation is something which is explained in a very proper manner there. अगर हम classroom management में ये नहीं करेंगे, so it becomes very difficult in the long run. So of course हम यही जानेंगे कि this is something which is a practical aspect and the practical oriented aspect as well. We know very well, those who are here teacher educators, के simulation या micro teaching क्या है. So micro teaching और simulation, it is like a lifelike model. आप peer to peer teaching करते हैं. You are teaching your own peers, like you are teaching your own friends. So ये peer to peer teaching is something which should be a very effective practice. अगर ये effective practice नहीं होता, then it becomes a very much difficult thing in the long run. And we find that ये जो actually हम लोग करना चाहते हैं, this simulation is something which is very much important. And हम actually ये simulation के द्वारा एक डेफिनेशन, एक अटेम्प्ट ये किया जाएगा कि दे शुड बी डन इन अ वेरी प्रॉपर वे, जैसे टीचिंग लर्निंग उन लोगों को प्रैक्टिस में आ जाना चाहिए बिफोर दे गो टू द टीचिंग लर्निंग schools and give this teaching to the students between class 6 to 12 or to the primary students. It becomes very important to know about simulation and micro teaching. Also कुछ एटीट्यूड चेंज होना होता है इस पीयर टू पीयर टीचिंग में. वी गेट अ लॉट ऑफ एटीट्यूड चेंज, डिसीजन मेकिंग स्किल्स, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स. कम्युनिकेशन बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है व्हेन वी डू दिस पीयर टू पीयर टीचिंग. एंड साइकोमोटर स्किल कैन बी टॉट to the students using simulation. So this is something which is very much important, because these things are quite important for not only for the teacher educator but also for the trainee teacher, so that when they become teachers in the long run, they become a very important part in the long run. Next slide, please. Now, coming when we are speaking about effective classroom teaching, there should be the role of the teacher in a very important aspect. हम बहुत अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं that in the year 2000, the teachers were actually only teachers. Okay, so this actually become a changed aspect when COVID came into the picture. So the COVID बहुत सी चीज जो destroy किया है, लेकिन कुछ चीज है जो develop भी किया है. तो पहले टीचर्स जो था वो था टीचर्स एक्चुअली. सो दे वर एक्चुअली द गुरुज, द गाइड्स, एवरीवन. लास्ट वर्ड ऑन द सिलेबस, इवैल्यूएशन. कुछ टॉपिक इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं तो सब कुछ टीचर्स के ऊपर ही था. एंड ऑफ कोर्स आई टोल्ड यू अबाउट द टॉक एंड द टॉक अप्रोच. स्ट्रक्चर्ड सिलेबस कुछ था लास्ट 10-20 years का, तो वो लोग ही वो चीज टीचर्स प्रैक्टिस करते थे. But now, after the time or during the time of COVID, things changed rapidly. तो क्या हो गया कि teachers became mentors. Now, during that time, there were a lot of students who were very much depressed. They were very much in the long run not knowing what to do. Especially कुछ final year का students थे जो लोग कुछ नहीं करना चाहते थे, या उन लोगों का बहुत डिप्रेशन हो गया था. सो टीचर्स केम फॉर हेल्प एंड दे बिकेम द फ्रेंड, मोटिवेटर एज वेल एज द गाइड. एट द सेम टाइम दे बिकेम समथिंग बियॉन्ड द क्लासरूम. पहले तो टीचर्स क्लासरूम के अंदर ही जो गाइड करना था करते थे, मैक्सिमम टीचर्स. ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर ऑलवेज एक्सेप्शंस. There are always exceptions like Tare Zameen Pe, the main protagonist, which was played by Amir Khan. During that time, there was no COVID, but still we found that he was a great teacher. So, ऐसे तो teacher हमको मिलते ही है, but exceptional cases में. But most of the teachers, they became mentors, and they became tech savvy, they became new age savvy, and they became the new age mentor. At the same time, कुछ चीज जो बियॉन्ड द क्लासरूम्स होता था, द काउंसलिंग, द डिफरेंट सेशंस, दैट वाज समथिंग व्हिच वाज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंटली प्रैक्टिस. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. नाउ स्टूडेंट्स का क्या हुआ कि वो दे बिकेम फ्रॉम स्टूडेंट्स, दे बिकेम लर्नर्स. दे वर एक्चुअली टेकिंग देयर क्लासेस. बिफोर दैट दे वर एक्चुअली टेकिंग क्लासेस फ्रॉम देयर टीचर्स, स्टडिंग फ्रॉम द टेक्स्ट बुक्स. कुछ चीज टीचर ट्रेनीज को वैसे भी प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट होना चाहिए, वो लोग वैसे भी उसमें माहिर थे, बट स्ट्रक्चर्ड सिलेबस वाज देयर. सो कॉम्पिटिटिव एनवायरनमेंट भी थे, बिकॉज दीज आर सम ऑफ द प्रोग्राम्स व्हिच आर क्वाइट कॉम्पिटिटिव, एंड दैट्स व्हाई इट वाज वेरी मच प्रोफेशनल कोर्स आल्सो. सो कुछ कंपटीशन तो एनवायरनमेंट में था, बट ड्यूरिंग द टाइम of 2020 until now, I have taken it till 25, because now world has become a global village, and yeah, actually rapidly it's changing. So mentors, peers, सब कुछ एक हो गए. The mentors were actually like student friendly teachers. Peers, they were more friendly than before, and आउटसाइड क्लास में जब रिलेशन होता है ज्यादातर हम क्लोज हो जाते हैं. सो स्ट्रक्चर्ड सिलेबस से हम जो एक्चुअली प्रैक्टिस किया, दैट इज द सेल्फ स्टडी. लर्निंग टू लर्न, it's actually a lifelong learning process. Students became learners. Now, when we are practicing school education, also the students started learning teacher education, the students started learning environmental education, the inclusive education, etc., etc. So students became learners. Actually, the main focus was to become a learner. Otherwise, they will not be able to know. It was not confined within the four walls or boundaries of the classroom. At the same time, collaborative environment was very much practiced. Why? Because in the Zoom session or in the Google Classroom session, the collaborative environment was practiced in such a way क्योंकि इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली अगर हम कंप्यूटर के सामने बैठते हैं और कोलैबोरेटिव एनवायरनमेंट और कोलैबोरेटिव टीचिंग अगर हम सीरियसली करना चाहते हैं तो we should be doing it in a proper way so that they should know, that they should understand that how it becomes very much important for them in the long run. So next slide, core task of mentors. Mentors जो teachers, actually जो teachers जिसको हम mentors बोल रहे हैं, उनका fourth जो task है actually हो गया है actually in the long run, that is creating learning resources and tools, delivering learning resources, you can see the picture, engaging the learners creatively.
अरे वो बच्चा मेहनती है.
At the same time, evaluating the learners continuously. If we are not going for the evaluation portion, then of course it is becoming very much important to know about the evaluation as well as the time aspect. And this is something which is very much important in the long run. Next slide, please. So here in short, this is actually a high-end theory portion with a practical aspect. I would request you to go to the next slide, which is the creating learning resources and tools. Very shortly, which is being practiced in high-end teacher education institutions. I am very proud to say that Adamas University School of Education, we prepare our teacher trainees and in such a way that they can actually create learning resources and tools. So we are quite proud, and that is why this is actually a live example. What I am deliberating to you today is being practiced to us more or less each and every day. So some of them are case studies given by mentors. Slide presentations are very common, but presentations through Canva and learning management systems like Canvas, they are something which the mentors and the students, they have their own online courses through Canvas. The micro teaching content, they are very diversified and very much important. And it becomes very much imperative in the long run to know this, because when you are teaching in an international school, when you are giving you are sending your information as a teacher to a high-ended international school, then this should be your knowledge as a teacher trainee, and which should be given by your teacher educators of the 21st century. Because if you are giving your knowledge truly in a proper way through the chalk and talk method, the students are not going to have their interest, their attention, their proper mannerisms should be reflected in such a way that you have your evaluation ready in your hands, and every student should have this way to face the evaluation process. Next slide, please. So these are some of the curated learning resources and tools like YouTube, Vimeo videos, audios, podcasts, as well as PDFs of the chapter studies and cases, very important. The journal articles and the chapters, the charts, infographics, relevant humor content. I am again stressing upon the on the humor content. So this humor content is something which is very important. Important in the case, like if you are not including your humor content, then it becomes very much boring, even in such a creative and in a proper IT atmosphere. So even if you are doing paid online courses or unpaid, giving your students the liberty to access the materials, there should be something which should be having a content related to humor. We are also having MOOC, massive open online courses, SWAM and SWAM Prabha, ये सब तो है ही. At the same time, 3D, animated or augmented reality actually is the near future. Augmented reality or simulation content, ये चीज virtual reality VR, ये सब teaching and learning जो in the future हम जानेंगे कि ये इसमें ही हम actually दे सकते हैं. Can you please mute? So e-books of the National Digital Library is something which is very much important for us, and everyone should be knowing everything. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So some of the context here given is about the delivery of learning resources, like arranging the increasing order of difficulty, as well as learning management systems. I have already spoken about Canvas as well as TCS Iron learning management systems. These are some of the examples which we practice actually. Flipped classroom teaching learning approach. This is some of the asynchronous approach of learning, and synchronous as well as asynchronous approach is something which is actually the need of the hour. And live interaction between the mentor and the teachers and the learners, the online or in person. So this is actually a synchronous approach, and asynchronous is there is no live interaction between learners and mentors. There is a physical lab studio delivery of practical learning. So nowadays हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम synchronous approach में भी class कराते हैं, asynchronous में भी कराते हैं, and इसको हम एक साथ क्या बोलते हैं, it's actually known as hybrid mode of teaching learning process. So this is something which is being practiced in high-end institutions also. So there are some of the learners' engagement in the next slide. We find that integrating social networking in learning environment, Google Forms, and then there are polls and quizzes, debates and discussions, as well as virtual lab studios. Can we go to the next slide, please, for the learners' engagement? Then, along with educational apps, Google Classroom and platforms such as WebEx, GoToMeeting, MS Teams, these are some of the ways through which we teach and learn in a very collaborative environment. Next slide, please. So, it is actually about the advanced learners through the artificial intelligence, personalizing the learning experience by using smart books. कुछ तो ऐसे है audio, video, graphic, human utility analysis. This is something which is very much important. Gamification of learning through games. हम अगर games के through ये करते हैं तो it becomes very much important. और students भी अच्छी तरह से, the trainee teachers अच्छी तरह से ये जानते भी है, कुछ लोगों का interest भी है. So gamification of learning, VR and AR applications, this should be the outcome and ease of the learning. Next slide, please. So how do we do the learners evaluation? We do it through the formative, continuous, comprehensive evaluation and summative course ending, both the assessment, diagnostic quizzes, the flexible online examinations are something which is very important, as well as imperative.
It's a network issue. Soon, Biswas madam will join us again.
We find also the quiz. Quiz is something which is dependent on the project-based presentations, as well as online, offline internships, as well as the live projects, a physical lab or studio-based assessment, live written assessment, which is very important for the physical evaluation, interview-based assessment, as well as time-bound task-based response. Dissertations, these are something which is very important, and we find that it is something which gives us a very much important aspect. If we are doing an online test and a quiz, the evaluation becomes very much interesting also. तो ये भी एक चीज है जिसमें हम ऑनलाइन टेस्ट और क्विज भी कर सकते हैं, जिसमें हम बहुत सी अच्छी तरह से स्टूडेंट्स को एक इंटरेस्ट भी ला सकते हैं थ्रू दिस प्रोसेस. Now, I will skip this slide of the teaching methods because more or less it's being discussed, but we will go through the group discussion. Group discussion is something, some of the things which should be practiced in today's classrooms, like group discussion. At the same time, we will be practicing something about seminars and presentations, which are very much important to know. And live seminars are something, at the same time, physical seminars should be practiced in a very proper way. Symposium is something which is also very much important, and to know about the learner and the teacher-centric approach and atmosphere, especially when we are teaching the MA teacher trainees, it is very important for them to know about the different forms of seminars and different types of seminars. Panel discussion is something which is being discussed and which is being very much important in the long run, and panel discussion is there. Not only we should prepare the students, but we should also prepare the adult students also. Role play method is something which is practiced especially in the teacher training programs as well as in the schools. This is something which is very important to take the interest of the learners. अगर हम रोल प्ले करते हैं तो लर्नर्स भी बहुत इंटरेस्टेड हो जाते हैं, बट स्टिल इट इज क्वाइट टाइम कंज्यूमिंग, बट हम ट्राई कर सकते हैं दिस रोल प्ले मेथड. रोल प्ले मेथड इज ऑल्सो वेरी मच इंटर रिलेटेड विद सिम्युलेशन. Next, we go to the project method. We already know about the project method. There is something where we give a common topic and work together like fun and playing together. This is something the project is developed. The teacher is actually the main person who is developing the idea of the project, and the learners or the students are working together as a team. So this also gives them a sense of responsibility, sense of not only learning, but a sense of togetherness, a sense of team building. So project building has a lot of good things also. Next also is the field trip. Teacher education में तो हम जानते ही है that field trip एक important aspect है. In schools also field trip is something, picnics are something जो हम बहुत कराते हैं, so that they become very much interested, and उधर से हम कुछ collect भी कर सकते हैं sources जहाँ से एक project भी हम कर सकते हैं. Next we go for the workshops. This is actually a part of a type of a workshop mode. हम देख ही रहे हैं जहाँ मैंने एक पिक्चर दिया है. For example, 1 day workshop of simulation based learning. So simulation is something which is being very much practiced by the teacher educators, by the teacher trainees. So कुछ workshop simulation के ऊपर भी होते हैं और different aspects में भी होते हैं. So this is something which is very much important. At the same time, exhibition schools में हम बहुत अच्छी तरह से कराते हैं. in the training institutes also, through the teacher trainees, they also give a good sort of exhibition. Actually, it builds in them a sense of a teacher building context, क्योंकि जब वो they become the class teachers, वो लोग जब class teacher या teachers होते हैं तो वो भी करवा सकते हैं उन स्कूल के बच्चों को. इनफैक्ट there are lot of students, my students, who are very much successful teachers, अभी भी वो एग्जीबिशन कराते हैं, मुझको फोटो भेजते हैं. एक्चुअली जो भी टीचर एडुकेटर्स इम्पोर्टेंटली एक अच्छा गाइड या मोटिवेटर या मेंटर का रोल प्ले करते हैं ना, वो सबको यू शुड एक्चुअली इम्बाइब फ्रॉम मी. these ideas actually are also yours, कि आप लोगों को भी कोई जो टीचर एडुकेटर है, जो has lived the proper responsibility of a teacher educator, वो भी रेजोनेट कर सकते हैं मेरे डेलिबरेशन के वो लोग भी एक्चुअली क्या करते हैं कि स्टूडेंट लोग उन लोगों को शेयर करते हैं कि मैम या सर हम टीचर हो गए हैं, लेकिन जो हमने सीखा है वो आपके साथ हम शेयर कर रहे हैं. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली द बेस्ट एक्नॉलेजमेंट ऑफ अ टीचर एडुकेटर. अगर वो शेयर करते हैं, तो टीचर हो गए हैं, सक्सेसफुल टीचर शेयर कर रहे हैं कि हम ये प्रोग्राम हमारा टीचर ट्रेनिंग कॉलेज से सीखा है और अभी हम बच्चों को ये करवा रहे हैं. सो दिस इज समथिंग विच इज द प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ टीचिंग एंड ट्रेनिंग, जो बहुत अच्छी तरह से एक प्रैक्टिकल नॉलेज से हम को भी एक फीडबैक मिलता है कि हम लोग जो किया, द स्टूडेंट्स आर आल्सो प्रैक्टिसिंग इन द लॉन्ग रन. Also programmed instructions, जो मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया है, this is something which the students self learn and उधर से finally they have a evaluation context. So programmed instruction is something जो evaluation context में हम deal करेंगे या deal कर रहे हैं, and we find it very much important. Then problem-based learning, this is something which I already have taught or told you. So this is the problem-based learning with questioning, creativity and thinking. This is something which is very much interrelated with the creative thinking process. अगर आप question नहीं करते हैं तो आपका creative process भी नहीं आएगा. And this is actually the problem-based learning through which we can go in a proper and creative manner. So this is something which is very important in the present, in the 21st century. So having gone through all the slides, and my title and the topic was effective classroom teaching. So to tell you in conclusion that teaching is a distinctive human activity of imparting knowledge through various methods. The means by which the students assimilates a share of it. It is an activity which is practiced and perfected with skill. Teaching, हम actually किसी को पूरा सिखा नहीं सकते. Teaching is something जो हमारे अंदर से आते हैं. And creativity जो हमारे अंदर से आते हैं, like motivation भी हमारे अंदर से ही आते हैं. So ये actually कुछ rocket science type का कुछ चीज नहीं है. दिस इज समथिंग जो आपके मन में जो अच्छी कुछ चीज आप अगर पढ़ाने चाहते हैं तो आपके स्किल के हिसाब से आप पढ़ाना चाहेंगे ना. ऐसे तो नहीं है कि हम प्रोग्राम्ड इंस्ट्रक्शन कर देंगे एंड यू विल बी लाइक अ रोबोट एंड यू विल बी टीचिंग. सो टीचिंग शुड बी समथिंग विच शुड बी वेरी नेचुरल. ऐसे नहीं लगे कि हम रॉटे लर्निंग करके हम टीचिंग कर रहे हैं. टीचिंग नेचुरल, टीचिंग कुछ ऐसे आना चाहिए जैसे हम फ्लो कर रहे हैं. एक रिवर में जैसे हम फ्लो कर रहे हैं, हम फ्लो करते हैं, द बोट्स विच फ्लो एक्चुअली इन अ प्रॉपर वे, ऐसे ही हमको फ्लो करना था, टीचिंग में फ्लो करना है. एंड दैट इज व्हाई देयर आर ग्रेट टीचर्स who have shown in the history, in the past, in the present, and will be doing it in the future. There are some of the students which we have seen, they teach so effortlessly. उनको सिखाना भी नहीं पड़ता, उनको टेक्निक्स थोड़ा गाइड कर देना पड़ता है. So this is something which actually comes from within, But of course, there are some different ways of innovative techniques of teaching and learning, which we should know as a 21st century teacher and as a 21st century teacher trainer and as a teacher trainee. So thank you for listening to me for the last 45 minutes. It has been a great learning experience for me also, because I am always a learner. More than a teacher, I am always a learner. I believe in the lifelong learning process. So that is why I am still learning. I am still learning through the deliberations day by day. It's been wonderful speaking about teaching and about the effectiveness of teaching with Shantiniketan International School, as well as in association with the Council of Teacher Education Foundation, Delhi NCR chapter. It's been a wonderful learning experience for me. I would definitely like to apologize for the technical and the technological problem which we all have faced, and due to that, maybe there was a 5-7 minutes gap in my deliberation. So that is actually one of the disadvantages of the Zoom platform, or rather say the online teaching learning platform. So we sometimes face this type of difficulties, which I have also faced, or rather we all together have faced. So thanks to all of you for listening to me even after the technical difficulty so patiently and so very much properly. You have been very much active participants and great listeners also. So I thank all of you. Thank you, Principal Ma'am and Chairman Sir, as well as Gupta Sir and Kumar Sir for giving me this platform. Definitely in the long run, we will be having some more deliberation depending on this type of a teaching learning process, as well as the innovative methods of the teaching learning process. Thank you. Over to the organizers.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your educative and inspirational training, which will really be helpful to us in our education life. Now, may I request Mr. Nilesh Nindani to please deliver the vote of gratitude.
A warm and graceful morning, one and all present here. My sincere thanks to all mighty God for making today's event a real success. Thank you very much, Dr. Prathita Biswas ma'am. We had an opportunity to hear your thought, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. Thanks to entire team and all the participants once again. Thanks for joining. Daily updates will given on WhatsApp group, and please fill the feedback form. Have a good day. Thank you.